Now you know how this works. I'm in a rush, so I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm just going to go through and do section A, and then we'll do that for part one, which is right here. Let's see here. The first thing I need to do is solve some quadratic equations. This section deals with everything and all things quadratic. You know this is a very important part of your region, so be ready to go on this guy. Anytime I have a quadratic equation, my initial idea is to set it equal to 0 and try to solve it that way. See if factoring will work. So I subtract the 18 from both sides, and now I get x squared minus 7x minus 18 equals 0. And I can use the AM approach. If for some reason, this shouldn't happen, but if for some reason it does, you can use the calculator and say y equals negative 18 divided by x, and then look at the table for factors. This works out to be x minus 9 times x plus 2 equals 0. I really don't have a lot of time to explain the factoring on this, so if you're stuck on the factoring, come and see me. I don't think kids should be stuck on the factoring. If you are, you either have to come and see me or it's too late, okay? So my answers to this are 9 and negative 2. Remember, if it's a quadratic, there generally tend to be two answers to a particular question. Now, number 2 is a very interesting question because kids get it wrong all the time and they should never get it wrong. This is actually an easier factoring because you look for a common factor, and they each share an n in common. So I factor out the n and I get 2n plus 9 equals 0. Now, looking over the test, virtually every single kid did this, which is a really good sign. Then, look, maybe it's the guy on the left, maybe it's the guy on the right. And then I see kids write this. I see it all the time on their papers. And then I see them do this. And they get 2n equals negative 9. Then they divide by 2, and they get negative 9 over 2. And then in the answer space, they put negative 9 over 2. Don't forget about this guy. That's also an answer. 0 and negative 9 over 2 are the correct answers to number 2. For number 3, again, I factor using that AM technique, or y equals 12 divided by x. Just take that last term in the calculator, look at the table, and look for two numbers that multiply out to 12 and add up to negative 7. So I'm going to get n minus 4 times n minus 3 equals 0. Maybe it's the guy on the left. Maybe it's the guy on the right. Adding 4 to both sides, I get n equals 4. Adding 3 to both sides, I get n is equal to 3. All right, so there are my first 3 questions. Again, I'm in a bit of a rush, so I'm not going to explain much more than that. If you still don't understand, go back, watch that section again to go over those or see me. What are the values in the equation? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we could do this guy. We could substitute the choices and see which ones work, but I'd rather solve it cleanly in case they give it to us one day where there are no choices. So if I distribute on the left and distribute on the right, I get x squared minus 6x equals 4x plus 24. Again, just like we did a second ago, get it all on one side. That gives me x squared minus 10x minus 24. Remember, in here, only the like terms can be combined. So that gives me x squared minus 10x, because the negative 6x and the negative 4x I just circled in green are like terms, minus 24 equals 0. Again, we're back to that same old AM technique. Remember I told you early in the year how important it was that you learn how to factor? Well, now, if you did learn how to factor, you are realizing the fruits of your labor. If not, there is a little bit of time left. You need to get this done. X is equal to 12, doing maybe the guy on the left, maybe the guy on the right. X equals negative 2. I know I didn't explain much there, but you need to understand that. We just went through that. So I'm looking for 12 and negative 2. There's my choice, choice 3. Okay, so now we go to the next one. Functions and quadratics. Functions and quadratics. How does the graph of f of x equals that compare to g of x? Well, the first thing I notice is that there's a 3 in front, which means it's going to be more narrow. So f is more narrow. The multiplying by 3 tightens up that parabola. This means, remember, in the parentheses is horizontal shift and it's reversed. So this means it's going to go 2 to the right, and the number at the end is vertical shift, and that's what it is. Plus means up and minus means down. So I'm looking for one that says f of x is more narrow, its vertex is moved to the right 2 units and up 1 unit, choice 2. is the correct solution. Okay? Okay, next. Solve the equation algebraically for x. Again, get it all on one side. We always begin with that idea, and I'm going to get 4x squared minus 12x minus 7 equals 0. And then what I notice on this guy is that there's no common factor to pull out. So that means I'm going to go to plan B. Cross out the 4, multiply by 4 here. We just did this in class today. As a reminder, x squared minus 12x minus 28 equals 0. This is factorable. Again, going back to AM, you could use the calculator, as I said before, y equals negative 28 divided by x. And I get x minus 14 times x plus 2 is 0. Now, I remember on the last test, a lot of kids remembered to do the times 4 here. That looked great, but they forgot, if they lost points, to divide back in by 4. Remember, if we multiply, we have to divide to balance it out. So this reduces to x minus 7 over 2, and this reduces to x plus 1 over 2 equals 0. So now we got to go to the middle school or junior high school step, around the horn with each of these, and I get 2x minus 7 equals 0, and 2x plus 1 equals 0. Adding 7 to both sides, 2x equals 7 divided by 2, x equals 7 halves, minus 1 to both sides, 2x is negative 1 divided by 2, x is negative 1 half. So 7 over 2 and negative 1 over 2 are the correct solutions. So that's the first section of the test. All done. Practice it, learn it, come in to help. Let's get this factoring done and mastered before the end of the year.